Mostly we come to meditation, and life for that matter, wanting it to be pleasant. We prefer pleasant to pain, permanent to impermanent. Being beloved and respected rather than disliked or hated. That's just the norm. That's just what's normal. But in meditation, in this kind of meditation, our aspiration and vow is I intend to awaken to what actually is. To go beyond and beneath the fantasies and the hopes and the fears. And that's one of the many reasons that we use the breath in our strategies of awakening. While we're alive, it goes on whether we know it or not. But then we can know it. And in that knowing, we arrive now, right here where the breath has always occurred now. And thoughts may arise, probably will arise. Memories of the past and future may arise, creating the past and future. This might be one of those moments when the mind is pretty quiet. When in a simple glance of consciousness, the entire body can be known. One of those times when thoughts, when they occur, are events. Or this could be more likely a time when there's a fair amount of thought. And even thought that we take as self, I, me, mine. We fall into trance states of thoughts that last for minutes sometimes, even longer, weeks. But once we start practicing, that becomes less and less likely. There's a kind of momentum to mindfulness. More than a kind of momentum, there is an inexorable movement in the direction of awakening. It develops a momentum of its own. And so the mind can be colored with wanting, craving, desiring, or wanting not, disliking, rejecting, pushing against. The mind can be restless and agitated and worried, and we all know that one. The mind can be colored, suffused with sloth and torpor, sleepy dullness. Or there can be doubt, despair, dispiritedness, confusion. However it is awakened to, come home to now. Come home to this breath. To whatever's really happening. It's useful to actually observe the way in which we are paying attention. Is there a tension, a striving in the paying attention? Are there tight muscles somewhere in the body? Anything which is observably tight that you can let go of, like in the face, like in the gut, perhaps your right arm or your left arm. See if you can just let it go. There's a beautiful term to settle back into the present moment. And the clearer it becomes that there's nowhere to get to except here, then there's a sort of ease that comes in. It's just this. It's just being here with whatever the mind is doing, whatever the body is experiencing. And the wonderful thing about having, one of many wonderful things about using the breath as our home base, as our global positioning coordinates in the midst of the universe, is that as long as we live, it's always here. It may be short, it might be long, it might be choppy, it might be really working hard. It might be almost not findable when concentration gets strong. But there it is, here it is now. Breathing in and breathing out. Each experience lasts this long now. It arises and then disappears. It may repeat itself, or it may be repeated. Coming home to now with a remembrance of the fabric of heart-mind fullness, including love. And love being an acceptance, an openness to exactly what's happening in this moment. It's a love which is infinitely more vast than any love of an object or a person, though it can certainly include persons. And so toward ourselves, I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. And of course, in life, there are so many disappointments and failings and challenges. Whenever I discover myself to be hurting, no matter how, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. And this time of sitting in relative silence draws to an end, and then we can attend to the transition from sitting here silently to being engaged with each other and with life. And we can notice the fact of not seeing, which is as important as seeing. It's like being aware of being mindful or not mindful. And now being attentive to the forming of the intention to open the eyes. And then letting the eyes open, being aware of seeing. Seeing. And seeing, depending upon how clear your seeing might just be blurs, or there might be no sight at all. That happens, of course, to us. Or maybe you have sight like mine with corrective lenses that creates very clear images of little postage stamps with extraordinarily beautiful human beings in them. And they move a little bit. They're alive. Seeing. Seeing, and it affects the heart, the warmth, the sense of here you are, here we are. Isn't it amazing that awareness exists? It's the water we swim in, so it's hard to notice, but we're actually conscious, perceptive, awake beings. Oh, I need to change something over here. Where is it? There it is. Boom. Okay. Well, once again, my apologies for having awakened at 1 minute to 10. And it's quite a wild movement toward here. I was really quite tired after yesterday. I got home around 7:30. So for those of you that don't know or who weren't there, or maybe do it differently, thank you to everyone who was there yesterday. Please wave at there. Make a little sign. Thank you for being there. We had a heart. I can only speak for myself, but I was observing. I had such a good time yesterday. I'm going to do this. We began the day with a time of sitting. Stop. I'm getting texts right now. I should turn on airplane mode. One moment, please. Airplane mode. There. Okay. All right. So I want to read this. I read it yesterday morning, and I've read it at least 25 times at work parties. I think of it as, for me, PIMC's founding document, and it's from that great saint of the 20th century, Mr. Rogers. And I saw this in action yesterday. It was alive. A friend of mine visited a beautiful monastery where a dozen monks, most of whom were in their 70s and 80s, were living. This is a place where once 60 to 70 men spent their lives studying and following a rule of very strict living. Praying together 7 times a day, 7 days a week, they worked hard and were successful. My friend asked one of the monks why he felt that over the years the community had dwindled from 60 to 12. His reply was, we did everything right. And somewhere in all that successful praying and work and living, we lost the most important thing of all. The thing that was so contagious and attracted people to us. We lost the naked love. Little by little, the success replaced the love. Oh, sure. You can have love and success, but the love has to remain first, always first. Natural, affirming, inclusive, native love. Naked love. Love and success, always in that order. It's that simple, and it's that difficult. There was a lot of kindness yesterday. Kindness lived out in focusing on our shared home, our physical spiritual home. And those of you that don't, because of distance or health or whatever, or simply not wanting to, who don't come to PIMC, to the building, it's still there in support of you. I read somewhere a long time ago that around the turn of the last century, 1900, there was a very large Buddhist community around New York City, north of New York City. And they had an injunction against building centers, and it completely disappeared. Now, who knows why? But it's one of the things I heard at the time that we purchased the building, a long time ago now, 2004. But it does provide a place of coalescing, to actually rub shoulders with each other and to share food. I just had a paranoid thought. God, I hope we didn't have a super spreader event yesterday. I don't think so. So I have a few announcements. Candle was there yesterday. Candle and Bill. Bill is really a fine carpenter and jack of all trades kind of guy. And those of you that haven't been there, wait till you see the living room. And Bill put up two mirrors in the living room, doesn't matter where, and it's so interesting how much bigger, even bigger again, they make the living room. And then there's the issue. We've had an issue for a long time. What do we do with the coats and shoes? Because it sounds like a silly thing to be concerned about, but when the shoes completely occlude the walking area, it makes it actually a little, even not just a pain, but a little dangerous. So about 5 or 6 heads came together and we figured it out. And there's a wonderful way for coats and shoes now set up. So Candle was there. It was lovely to be with her in that context as well. I know her as a fine teacher and a great friend and very sensitive, caring person. And this Saturday, she's teaching a retreat from 9 till 2, focusing, at least one part of it will be on difficult mental states. Have you had any of those lately? Any mental state you'd rather flee from than face into? That's this Saturday, and the sign-up thing for that is on the website. She also teaches on the first and third Sundays, and as I would count it, the third is the first Sunday. So please be invited to that. She has other teachings too that are available that she does that are on the website but difficult to find. We're gonna get rid of that impediment soon. Sunday the 3rd, a week from today. This will be a live broadcast from PIMC. I've done one complete run through of the technology, and I'm going to do another one Wednesday afternoon because I have a class on Wednesday night. The class I should talk about as well is an 8-session over 12-week meditation and reading group, reading the book Living This Life Fully, which is by Mirka Knaster. It's about Munindra's take on the teachings and how his life manifested them. He was very, very important in my early Dharma life. I went to India to be with him. He came to the retreat center where I was having my cult experience, and it was within half an hour of his arriving that I knew I could leave. So a very important person in my life. And he lived the teaching so elegantly and clearly. And Mirka, we haven't talked yet, but she's going to come to one of the classes, and we're going to figure out how to weave her in as part of the experience of that. And that you can find on the website and sign up for. I have a list here. I'm teaching my next residential retreat that there's room in is at Hollyhock in Canada, May 29 through June 3rd. I believe that's on the website. Sunday nights, there's the Be Queer Now group at 6:30. Jim, you want to say a word about your next teaching Qigong phenomenon?
Thank you. Yes, that's going to be the third Saturday of April, the 16th, I think. And yesterday when I was at the center, I scoped out how we would, if the weather was good, how we could do the program at the center and then go outside for some of the movement. And there is a safe path down the ramp and into the I guess it would be the north end of the yard where the construction was is a little torn up, but that may be irrelevant. You know, once we get outside and smelling the fresh air under the trees and doing mindful movement, I can't wait. So that's the third Saturday of April. Meditation, some poetry, and hopefully outside movement. Thanks.
Kendall, I just noticed that you are here. Would you like to say something about your
Hi, Robert.
Sunday nights? There you are.
Yeah, it was so lovely to see everybody yesterday.
Wasn't it good?
Oh, yes, it was wonderful. And I was so happy we got so much done.
It was stunning. It was like a flock of locusts.
Yeah. I
swarm.
felt a little sad, though, because there were so many people I didn't get to meet whom I'm sure I've seen on the 7 a.m.s, but I didn't get people's names or real hugs, but I know that time will come. I think you probably already announced about Saturday. Is that right?
But please do it in florid detail so people can actually get interested in.
Oh, well, first of all, I want to thank the people who have signed up. And a couple of people yesterday told me they had, but I looked today and didn't see their name. So I just want to encourage anybody who wants to come to go ahead and sign up. The registration will probably close on Wednesday so that I can send emails to people and know who else is coming. A long story short, the long story is difficult emotions and how we deal with them. It's a very long story.
It's the history of humankind.
The short story is we'll try to talk about them in an hour and a half in the afternoon. The afternoon will be more around joy and calm. And the morning will be more around working with difficult emotions. So it's 2 hours in the morning, I believe, and then there's an hour lunch break and an hour and a half in the afternoon. So it's not a big, long time, but it's really nice to take time to go further into practice. And I was thinking that this is sort of like an immersion weekend. You can come on Saturday and have extra hours of sitting. You can come on Sunday morning and have a joyous celebration together. And then you can come back to quiet again on Sunday night if you want to join on my first and third Sundays, because it is on Sunday. So I hope to see more people there, even though it's on Zoom.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, Robert. Great to see you and everyone else, and meet a few people.
Kendall, you missed my entrance this morning. I slept until 1 minute to 10.
Oh, fantastic. Well, you look I don't see any sleep in your eyes.
Actually, Jennifer pointed out when I zipped in at one point that my CPAP mask line was still quite visible.
Yes, I know those lines. Well, thank you once again for offering the Dharma so beautifully.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being my friend. It was lovely to be with you yesterday. Will you give Bill another hug for me, thanking him for
I
his,
sure will.
his wonderful ministry
he wants
to the
come
building?
back over and measure that little area by the bathroom where you wanted to take away that plastic shelving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think good.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Mr. Dalton, or Hu Chi Ming from Sichuan province, would you care to lead some mindful movement? There's Frank. Hang on a second. Hello, Frank Leder.
Hey, dear Robert. Hello.
Hello from Germany.
Nice to see you.
I didn't mention Frank and I are teaching a 5-day retreat in Germany you will remember the dates, Frank, I'm sure.
Yes, it's getting closer. And it'll be the 21st of July and then 5 days. And I'm so much looking forward to hosting you here, dear Robert.
I'm looking forward to it. You know, people always ask me where in Germany. What should I tell them?
It's central Germany, about a 2 hours drive from Frankfurt Airport, north. And the seminar center is located in a, a national park, a national monument. And very beautiful next to a big lake, lots of forest, beautiful surroundings, and a big Dharma hall.
Yay. Well, I look forward to that and playing with you before and after.
Yes, me too.
Okay, Jim, you want to take it away?
Would you please make me a co-host?
Oh, you're always so demanding.
Camera.
You always ask for that, I tell you.
Just a pest.
A pest. Well, you're always there when we need you. That's true. Where is this? Make co-host. Here it goes. You got it.
Thank you. And I think Jamie had an announcement.
Jamie?
I do.
Yeah.
While we were on the topic of Candle and her sharing, her teaching, I just wanted to say that the Be Queer Now thing is happening on Sunday nights as well. And for those who would like to participate in both Candles and Sunday night and the Be Queer Now Sunday nights, I record the sitting part, the meditation part of it, so that anybody would like to do both and not miss out. You would just get in touch with me and get the recording, and then you could alternate tasks or alternate sittings. So I just wanted to share that that's available for anyone who wants to do both.
So you record the meditation part, but not the sharing part.
Right. We've elected as a group to not share the private discussion.
Which makes it more intimate. Okay, good. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, Mr. Dalton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to join me with some mindful movement, observe how you change position from the chair to standing. So as we settle into a comfortable standing pose, well, let's put it this way. When I settle into a comfortable standing pose, I try to get my feet parallel underneath my hips. So if I bring my feet together, then I'm on this precarious small base, and I can't really get comfortable. If I open to hip width apart, then there's a balancing and evening out and composure in the body. It just knows how to stand comfortably. There's an energetic quality of, Robert was talking about scanning the body for little areas of tension. When we're sitting, we can do the same thing standing. What tension is there standing that's unnecessary? There's a certain amount of engagement with gravity. The earth element of the body meets the earth element below at the surface of the feet. And there's a connection, there's an interchange of energy. And it takes a little engagement to stay upright, but it's just a little engagement. How small can we sink into that effort? And then there's a small amount of effort required to move from side to side. You know, we move to one side and we can feel a completely different engagement on one leg versus the other. One's resting and get ready to go. The other's fully engaged with gravity. And then switch. Gradually move over to the other side. Hold for a second. Feel the difference. The body knows how to balance on one leg. And shift. Feel how the wisdom of the body kicks in. We don't have to think about it. We make the intention to move over to one side, and then the body finds a balance. And we come back to the center, and then feel the symmetry between the two legs, both engaged equally. Composure, soft engagement, a whole lot of words. Feel relaxed. Feel the breath moving in, the breath moving out. And if we've been involved in some kind of restless activity that stirs up the body, just breathing in through the nose and then out through the mouth allows the body to relax a little deeper and release the tension, release the after image of any difficult emotions or actions or thoughts. Easy breathing, but in through the nose and out through the mouth. And the next time we exhale, we sink, and then lift the arms and release with the breath. So on the in breath, we rise. The out breath, we sink. Again, there's a certain amount of engagement, lifting the hands away from the body, a different flavor of engagement to come down the front of the body. Mindfully lifting and releasing and following the whole journey down. Following the whole journey up. When this composure is mindfully tracked, you can feel the mood change. There's an ease and a comfort and a composure and a balance that all comes together. Our intention is to renew and release. And there are certain Qigong movements that I've practiced as warm-ups for many years that get the hips loosened up. So you can move the weight to one side and bring one hip forward. Take that hip back to the other side and bring the other hip forward. So sort of like if you put your hands on your hips, you can feel kind of an S shape to the movement. And then reach across with one hand and lift it up and let it go across and relax. Lift across with the other hand. And we can combine this lifting with plugging into the earth with the other palm. So the lower hand plugs into earth energy. The upper hand floats on the sky energy. So it's earth and sky. Easy crossing over. One leg engaged more than the other. Across the middle where they're even. And then switch. This rhythm of breathing, rhythm of movement and engagement resets the nervous system. There's a calming mood that arises from soft, round movements. And there's no need to think about the cloud hands or the shadow on the earth. There's just this feeling of coordination between the two arms. You reach one extreme and the cycle begins. You reach the other extreme and the cycle renews. Then coming to stillness, we can scan for any leftover tension. What can be released now? Life in the feet and the ankles. Life in the calf, shin area, up into the knees. Life in the thighs, and the hips. Then moving into the pelvis and the soft tissue that's cradled in the pelvic cradle. We move up into the torso and there's life in the soft tissues. A rhythm of opening and relaxing in the diaphragm. The belly expands, the belly releases. Every little movement is an opportunity for mindfulness, renewal, and release. Into the rib cage, expanding and releasing. Expanding outward with the arms. And then down the center with the release. Letting go, letting go, letting go. The journey begins with an upward sweep. Very slow, very deliberate, very relaxed. Lifting and releasing. Coming to stillness. Again, the predominant sensations might be the breath, might be the feeling of fabric against the skin, the feeling of engagement with gravity in the soles of the feet. You might feel the pulsation of your circulatory system, your heart system, pumping into the hands, down through the arms, from the heart. So each movement is a expansion and a contraction of muscles, a tightening and a loosening of muscles, a movement out, movement back to the center, movement back behind us, movement forward. All these possibilities are in this stillness. So then we bring our hands together with gratitude. We can still balance. Not that we do it. We observe the wisdom of the body, the composure of the body. Bringing the hands together in gratitude for another chance to practice, another chance to be together in a harmless, calming activity. So different from some of the rest of our activities in the world out there. So calming ourselves, we offer the calmness and the peace as a gift to everyone on this Zoom call, and then radiating out to all beings everywhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. So is my sound on at that end? Good, thank you.
Robert, I had a request from Thursday night. I played a song that my daughter recorded last week and sent to me as a celebration of the first day of spring. I don't know if that fits in to your plans for the rest
How
of
long is it, Jim?
It's about 3 minutes, two and a
Sure.
half, 3 minutes.
Can you pull it up easily?
Yeah. Would you rather do it at the end or?
Oh, let's do it now.
All right. I said easily. That's always a. Well, it's not going to work. I lost it.
Okay.
Next time.
Thank you. Well. Oh, that's not the right camera. There we go. All right. I was remiss in the announcements. There's a piece of information or two that I did not share, and I'm going to share my screen. We have worked, I'd say, long and hard as a board of what to do about COVID and masking and so on. And this is what we've come up with. And this is the version of it that I sent out for my class next week. I'm going to send out again. Beginning with this class and next Sunday, we'll be meeting in person in the Dharma Hall at PIMC and via Zoom and Facebook and YouTube when we can, for all those who can't attend in person. Following the guidance of the CDC and the state of Oregon recommendations, we've decided to proceed as follows. For the well-being of all, please attend in person only if you're fully vaccinated and boosted. We'll be offering all our gatherings in a hybrid fashion in person and via Zoom. Sunday mornings will continue to be broadcast to Facebook and YouTube as well. Masks will not be required. If you do wish to wear a mask, please do. For those who are concerned about contagion, we suggest that you sit at the back of the Dharma Hall behind the main group, or to have a greater distance, you may use the choir loft. The choir loft will be reserved for those who wish to be masked and have all others nearby masked. So it's a large space up there. We ask for those not wearing masks to be very respectful of those who do and to maintain at least 6 feet of social distance. The ceiling fans will be running to keep the air moving. In the living room, there will be 3 high-capacity air cleaners running on full, which will filter the air in the room every few minutes. And PIMC is now fully wheelchair accessible. This should not be cat. Email email Gregory, Gregory at portlandinsight.org if you are coming with a wheelchair, and we'll be sure to get, we got to figure out the gate thing. I installed yesterday a doorbell at the gate, which will ring in the Dharma Hall and in the living room. But we haven't quite figured out how to do the wheelchair thing yet. And I have big signs about how to find the wheelchair access at the center. So there's a parking spot which we're going to reserve for wheelchair, for parking for those that need it only, and that hasn't happened yet either. So we're getting our ducks in a row, but that's the. And I know the vaccination only thing bites with some people, but I am sorry. That's where the board came down, and that way those who are able to fully participate will not have to be worried about that. And we'll do our best to include everything in the broadcast. The lawnmower's back. The fellow takes care of our lawn and 2 others right next door. So takes several hours to do the whole thing. What a hard-working fellow, boy. Oh, good. Well, I talk about the work party yesterday, and I made a list of a handful of the things that got done. And it's great that things get done. And the center is looking lovely. And the doing of the things lets us rub shoulders with each other and create connection that way. Oh, I guess I'd like to say this too. Yesterday was the most satisfying for me work party in all these years. I used to get very anxious because it's, from my point of view, it's completely out of control. People are doing things they think need to be done, and things do need to be done. And I'm interrupted every minute and a half or two, three maybe, with, well, what do I do with this, and what do I do with this? And then I go off to show someone, and on the way, someone asks me a question, and it's impossible to keep it all straight. And in fact, I get several times yesterday. I got lost. It's like, I'm in the Dharma hall. I was going somewhere with a purpose, and I have no idea what it was. Oh well. Anyway, yesterday I again made the intention to just let it all happen, and it did. It all happened. And best of all, for me, because I wasn't rushing, I got to be with people. I got to hang out on the back porch with Jamie painting. I was with Bill up in the restrooms, and Tom, oh my goodness, Tom Miller. His profession is handyman, sort of. Commercial. And oh my goodness, he knows how to do things. I thought he had left. It was late, 3:30, 4 or something. I thought he had left, and he called me. He'd gone to Home Depot and picked up parts for several things, and he was wondering if he could come back. And then it was just the two of us finally, and we had some real conversation. That's the Sangha in action. Right, where we are nourishing each other with our kind attention. I have to cough. I'll be right back. Hooray for the mute button. Nothing worse than someone coughing in the microphone. So, I want to thank everyone who was there yesterday. And for those of you, a couple of people stopped by for just a few minutes. And it was lovely to see you after this long time of COVID. So I have just a little bit of show and tell. I probably should wait till I have the message clear, but I received this in the mail yesterday. Now, there's something, there's a powerful Dharma message in this. I know it. It came with a book and a CD. It's from Michael Shohan. Many of you know Michael. And I haven't had a chance to read the little book or listen to the CD. But this, I know, has great meaning. It's the first thing that comes to mind is, look, there's this, and then there's this. And this is the personality. Hi, I'm born. I'm terrific. I've got my neuroses are like this and like that. And then, boop, it vanishes. That's pretty weird. From this little inert thing to this. So more will be revealed. I just couldn't hold back from sharing that with you. I'm still a little maniacal from yesterday. And Dave Mayer says it looks like his restless mind. So, I also had a wonderful. I took myself to a nice restaurant last night on the way home, and I had an encounter with a waitress. Not uncommon for me, and we had these little snippets of conversation as she came by. I was sitting at the bar, so she was coming in and out a lot, and I learned that she's leaving tomorrow to some southern state to be with her nephew, who's really pretty lost, who was shielded from life a lot by his father, who died several months ago. And so she's being the good auntie, driving or flying down to see him. I also learned that she and her fiancé just put down money on a new house. And I learned that she was hurting a lot. And the conversation started by, I learned that she really loves garlic. I forget how that came about. And she was a gardener. And I told her, I have a bunch of garlic that's starting to sprout. Would you like some? And she said, oh, I'd love it. And then she said, I won't be back for a week. And that's how the conversation about the trip to the South came. And at a certain moment, her eyes teared up when we were talking. I was just paying attention. And so I planned to bring her some garlic a week from then. And then as I was sitting there and getting ready to leave, I realized, no, there's more to do here. So I told her I'd be back with some garlic, and it's half an hour or so each way, 25 minutes. So I drove home and I got some garlic, and I got a copy of my book, and I read a nice inscription in the book and took it to her. And she'll be here on Sunday, opening day, with us. It's to remarkable what love does, right? To just see one another, to be free enough of our identification with our own suffering that we can really see another person, and vice versa. And I had that experience yesterday in the work party, time and again. I mean, what else is worth living for? Really? Is there anything? I mean, I've had so many great experiences. I've been on the top of some beautiful mountains in Switzerland. I've skied days when I was a ski patrolman in Andermatt in Switzerland. I skied days when I was the first person down through 18 inches of perfect powder. I mean, that's pretty fine. But to meet the eyes of that waitress last night, and she said, I'm 49 years old. I've managed to avoid many realities of my life until now, and they've hit. That's when I thought, well, she got to have the book. So I'm also been blessed in this last week to have several conversations with people who are really up against the wall. And what do I mean by up against the wall? I mean sick, really sick, sick and dying, sick and uncertain, and the conversations keep going back to the fundamentals. There's the story of the Buddha. He was quite a person, don't you think? The Buddha walking through the forest, and I forget the preamble to this, but he reaches down and picks up a handful of leaves. It's called the handful of leaves sermon. He picks up a handful of leaves and then says, the leaves in my hand are to the leaves of the forest as what the Tathagata, he called himself the Tathagata, the one such gone. These leaves are to the leaves in the forest as what the Tathagata teaches is to what is known and what he knows. He teaches a very small bundle of leaves. And what is it that the Tathagata teaches? He teaches dukkha, the cause of dukkha, and the end of dukkha, and the path leading to the end of dukkha. And that's where I got an idea. I can turn on noise canceling and it helps. Dukkha, the cause of dukkha and the end of dukkha. And when life gets hard, that's a very crucial conversation. Dukkha, its cause and its end, and the path. And as I was having these conversations in the last week, I kept experiencing a certain awe as the meaning. Hang on, I gotta fix something here. As the meaning of these, in a certain way, simple words. There's suffering, there's a cause of suffering, there's an end of suffering, there's a path. But when one is face to face with real suffering, with one's own or someone else's real suffering, it becomes really kind of powerful. I just remembered I was sent a poem with the permission to read it on here. How did it get sent? It was... Oh, this is good. I'm glad I'm remembering. It'll take me just a moment to find it, but it's worth the time. It's a funny way to say it. It's worth the time. Okay, that's a good start. Here it is. Oh boy, it's so small. Can I make it bigger? Oh, there we go. I should stop looking at the outside world. If I scroll, seeing it all going on, it all goes on. It goes on without me. This is a person in the third episode of 16 chemotherapy treatments that will leave her exhausted for at least 10 days each time. Very active person. And she's on episode 3, and they tell her they will continue to get more intense. And the outcome is uncertain. Very uncertain. I should stop looking at the outside world. If I scroll, I see it all going on. It all goes on. It goes on without me. He's there, at the party. The boy that didn't want to see me didn't want to fuck around with cancer. Who can blame him? That party looks like more fun than this. Though this I still haven't accepted. I long for the past or dream of a future. I don't want to be here. But here I am, still wishing for something different than the here I'm in. I should stop looking at the outside world. It fills me with envy, longing, jealousy. I shouldn't even look at my memories. They too hurt as I pine for days gone by. How to be present in a present I don't want. How to not long for the past or dream of a future. How to be here when I just don't want to be here. Wow. In less dramatic and life-threatening ways. Oh, they're right outside my door. He is. He's going to pull the cord. In less dramatic ways, I find this to be true of my life. So, what about these 4 noble truths? Incidentally, while I thought of this the other day, I had forgotten about this. There's a book by Philip Moffat. Jim, would you look up the name? It's got dancing in it, I think. Philip Moffat wrote a book on Ajahn Sumedho's teachings, really, on how to use the 4 foundations of mindfulness as a complete spiritual path, which of course they are, because they include the Eightfold Path. So there's a shorthand for the application, for the operationalizing of the 4 noble truths, which is this. It's like an equation. Are you suffering? Dancing with life. There it is. To the degree, there's an equation. To the degree you are suffering, you're clinging to something. Well, that was sudden. You're clinging to something that you want to be happening or that isn't happening. And it's a perfect, it's like E equals MC squared. It really works. Just a small example. Those sneezes are intense, somewhat pleasant, but they're an interruption. Oh, here comes another one. I could be suffering about those sneezes. Oh my God, you're sneezing on a broadcast. There's 60 people, and who knows how many people are going to watch it on YouTube. People sneeze. It's normal. So, this is a very classic Dharma talk. This is the classic Dharma talk, isn't it? Because this is the first talk the Buddha gave. This is the talk he gave to his 5 friends after he woke up. His 5 friends who had abandoned him because he'd gone back to eating. So there's dukkha. And there are some phenomena that are coherent with the arising of dukkha. Birth, sickness, old age, decay, and death. And then there's the catch-all baskets, which really put a point on it. Having experiences you don't want to have. Had any of those lately? Do you have a neurotic mind that provides experiences you don't want to have with some frequency? Not having experiences you do want to have. Not having experiences you do want to have. Being with people or person you don't want to be with. You don't enjoy being with. They happen, however, to be your in-laws or your partner or a child who's turned on you or a colleague at the office or a member of the family who's fallen ill and who they were is gone. And then there's not being with the person or persons you want to be with. Right? What about that person who so filled your heart that your lives were in such wonderful synchrony and then they left or they died? I mean, this is normal. These are not extraordinary human circumstances. These are just the fabric, right? Birth, sickness, old age, decay, death. Having experiences you don't want to have. Not having the experiences you do want to have. Being with person or persons you don't want to be with. And not being with the person you do want to be with. We could amplify these a little bit with living in a world in which a psychopathic madman is leading his country into genocidal war, which threatens annihilation. Living in a world where the temperature is rising and it seems like there's little to be done. Having experiences we really would like not to be happening. And then here, and this is a very sobering reflection for me, though what's remarkable is the more deeply one embraces this, the more joy there is in life. Strange, but true. So there's another one. It's one of I've been teaching the same thing for 45 years, but it's like I didn't get it. I certainly didn't get it for the most part early on, but it becomes truer and truer. There's this decay thing. Sickness, old age, decay, and death. On Friday, a handsome young, very highly skilled doctor, Devin Carvallis. When I first met him, I said, how can a person as young as you be a specialist at this level of training? And he said, well, I am 40. Well, he used a fluoroscope and two wonderful assistants, and he inserted a needle into the middle of my spine. Not the middle, I guess, but the one of the, into the nerve. You can see the nerve on the fluoroscope. He inserted it, and then he injected a fancy chemical steroid, which hasn't worked much yet, but the last time I did it, it was great for about 4 or 5 months. My back is degenerating. I have a reprieve now again, because I live in a time of high-tech wealth. I live in a time of wealth. I have health insurance, Medicare, and there are people who are devoting their lives to helping me with my crumbling back. I have a friend here in Portland whose back has been crumbling for a long time, who has 2 vertebrae at the bottom of her spine that have crumbled. And she can hardly move. And I'm saying these not as a downer for us, but as a sobering up thing. That this is not unusual stuff. This is happening all the time. There was a long line of people, not a long line, they're very orderly at the place I go, Rebound, but there was a list of, I don't know, maybe 40 people who were going to have the same thing done in their spine, because this happens to lots of people, on the day that I was there, and then the next day and the next day. So we're working to ameliorate, to, there's a better word, we work hard to keep going as we age. I was noticing this morning too, and trying to read this poem. It's like, geez, even with my special glasses for the computer, I have to change the resolution on my computer to be able to see it properly. Now, that's a small thing, but it's the truth, isn't it? So, I am told by those who study the Pali Canon, the Buddha's teachings, it was very typical for him when people came to him, he would ask them why they came. And then they would have their complicated stories, about a lot of stories about, funny, I just had a memory. I was in Burma with Tangpulu Sayadaw a long time ago, and they allowed me to sit in and listen with some translation to what the townsfolk of what's the capital of Burma? Anyway, what the people of the city were coming in, and they stood there all day. There was a line of them. They come in and they'd sit at his feet. And one of them that was translated for me was a woman who said, "My husband works for the power company or the phone company, and they moved him to another city 3 years ago, and I can't move because of this and this, and we are apart." And he told her a story, and the story was, well, if you can't change it, then you need to work to accept it. And then the suffering will reduce when you accept reality for what it is. And that happens, that kind of thing happens in all of our lives all the time. So the Buddha would say, after they described their story, often blaming the external circumstances for their pain, for their suffering, he would say, can you focus on the suffering? Can you actually acknowledge that there is suffering and move away from blaming it on the outside circumstance once you can't change the outside circumstance? And then your practice begins. Yes, there is suffering. The first noble truth, there is suffering. There is dukkha. It takes a lifetime, I think, to acknowledge that and to let it in more and more. And to, oh my God, it's 12. Huh. I'm going to run over a bit. To let it be real. Dukkha. Now, it would be a grim story if it ended there. And in Philip Moffat's book, he lays it out so beautifully. There's 3 insights to each of the 4 noble truths. The first insight is what happens in a talk like this. That sort of makes sense. The second insight arises when we start practicing and we realize at an experiential level, oh my gosh, it really is real, right? Dukkha's real. And I use the word dukkha rather than suffering because even pleasure is shot through with dukkha because it's impermanent. And then there's the third level of insight, which is when it starts kind of filling our bones and we're living from the understanding that, of course, there's dukkha. I had 2 crowns fall out last week. One and then the other. Bump, bump. It's coming. There's going to be more. But, so then it'd be a grim story, but then there's more. The Buddha goes on to say, well, there's a cause of dukkha, and it's not the fact that things fall apart and that things don't go the way you want. It's that there's something in us that says, I don't want it to be like this. I want pleasure, please, and in large doses and frequent. And so that's the whole story of drug abuse and indulgence abuse of all kinds, that I know that if I inject this or inhale this or eat this or do this, listen to this on the TV, then I can be distracted for a while. So I want pleasure. I don't want pain. And if I can't get this moment to be right, at least I want to become in a different moment. Right? I want to get on that vacation, or I want this to change. So this is the second ennobling truth, and we can turn toward it too as a very specific practice. When I'm suffering, what's my unenforceable rule? I don't want to have this headache. I don't want to have this sickness. I don't want to be waiting here for someone to come and I'm not sure if they're going to come or not. I'm suffering. So the teachings say, and I believe it to be absolutely the truth, like gravity, if I'm willing to observe the tanha, the craving, the wanting things to be different, then that too gets bigger. But I'm no longer completely hypnotized by the dukkha. And there's 3 stages of tanha, of recognizing thirst or craving. And that is first, that's an interesting idea. I wonder if that could be true. And then we start attending to it. And we discover, whoa, it is true. The amount that I'm suffering is exactly equal to the amount that I'm not able or willing to accept this reality. And then this becomes part of the fabric of our experience too. We start noticing this all the time as we suffer less and less. Now he's coming with his leaf blower. It's like the seasons. First there's the weed eater, then there's the lawnmower, and now the leaf blower. Oh dear. I could suffer about that too, couldn't I? But instead it's rather funny. It's minor. And then there's the third noble truth, which is the jewel, the beautiful truth that the Buddha taught, without which his teachings would have faded away forever ago. If I'm willing to suffer the dukkha consciously and take responsibility for it, that the dukkha is coming from actions of this experience of self, something mysterious happens, which is nirvana or nibbana or quenching. And the circumstances may well remain exactly the same. And even the resistance to things, the disliking of things may remain exactly the same. But the suffering goes out of it. And there's acceptance and sanity. And this, people, I'm always, thanks to Matt Flickstein, I always challenge people when they say, "Oh, I'm not interested in enlightenment," or "I'll never make it to enlightenment in this lifetime." That's a curse. And it springs from a total misunderstanding, as though someday I'm going to be in meditation when I've done 10, 20-day retreats, and when the children are finally grown up, and I can go on retreats, and maybe if we were Asian, it could be when I get to be born as a man, and then I'll be able to practice deeply in the monastery. There's something inherently wrong with that thinking, don't you think? Because awakening is right here. It's not somewhere else, and it's not some other time. It's right here when I develop enough ease and concentration and presence, and I can, hang on a second, and I'm discovering there is an irritation with the sound, and I'm going faster and faster trying to get away from the sound. Interesting. So, we pause, we pay attention to the suffering, and we notice what's causing the suffering is not the sound, not the event, not the feeling in the body. It's this reactivity, unconscious reactivity to it, and then we notice that, and then somehow mysteriously, it's all okay. Right? I'm sad that the relationship ended. Oh, Budo's over there. This was the first time the fellow cut the lawn around Budo's grave. I'm sad Budo died. It's a loss. And it's okay. Right? He gave me the gift of so many years, and he gave me the gift of his death. What a privilege to have that little being in my life. But I don't have to suffer about it. So Nirvana and Nibbana is an everyday affair. It's happening all the time. The quenching happens. The quenching of the suffering disappears again and again. Mostly we don't notice it, though, because we're looking for something very grand. And then there's the path, the Eightfold Path, which is vastly beyond the scope of this gathering this morning. But I've got lots and lots of renditions of that on YouTube and also on the portlandinsight.org website. So I'm not going to have sharing this morning or questions. Leaf blowers are the... Can you hear it, Carla? Oh, he's right at my door.
Yes, very loud.
Ooh, lots of leaves blowing. I can't see him except there's a shadow. Oh, here he comes. I wonder if he'll look in.
He's going to
He's a
come right
nice
in
fellow.
your little cottage.
Oh, he's grown a beard since the beginning of COVID. That's cool. All right. The Eightfold Path. And here we are. Right to your reps at state and local level to have them banned. Yeah, well, that's an idea. I have an electric one I like. So I'm getting to be trivial here. I would like to thank you all very much for being here this morning and gracing my life. I feel very fortunate to have you come and join me on these times when I get to talk about the Dharma and in person. So let's take a moment to just breathe in and breathe out consciously together. My heart is just overflowing this morning. Yesterday was really wonderful. I think he's going to break in the door. No, he didn't look in. Okay, my friends, let us sing our way home. May all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. May all beings encounter the Dharma and the different ways the Four Noble Truths are taught. As they come, they are in every tradition in different clothing. So may all beings receive all blessings. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everyone, dear friends. Hey, Frank, check your email. I'll send you a link. Let's visit for a minute. Goodbye, dear beautiful people. Have a wonderful, mindful day.
Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Namaste, all.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You know, my relationship to the leaf blower changes if I think of it as Om.
Oh. Well, then it becomes pleasant, doesn't it?
It is. It changes it completely.
Hello, Roseanne.
Thanks, Robert.
And Joan and Jamie. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Here we go. Preparing, turning off